Entitled parents gave my brother $50 million while I inherited a dusty gallery. Then I found the secret vault, and they stopped laughing. They mocked me when I received the gallery instead of the fortune. But when the FBI showed up, my brother was the one in handcuffs. While my brother received $50 million, my parents left me their failing art gallery. "Enjoy the dust," he said with a giggle. Then I discovered my grandfather's secret vault, and something inside caused my brother to faint. Long shadows stretched across the deserted exhibition area as the last rays of sunshine streamed through Willow Gallery's dusty windows. I stood there, inhaling the familiar scent of old wood and oil paint, trying to process the events of the previous day. My name is Clara Willow, and yesterday I received what my family considered their greatest disappointment, a declining art gallery in downtown Boston. The memory of the lawyer's office remained vivid: the grandfather clock, the massive mahogany desk, and the smug, expensive cologne of my brother, Ethan. Ethan couldn't contain his glee as Mr. Harrington read our parents' will, an occasion that should have been solemn. To our son, Ethan Willow, we leave the sum of $50 million, our Hampton estate, and controlling interest in Willow Industries, Mr. Harrington had stated in a cold, professional tone. To our daughter, Clara, we leave Willow Gallery and its contents. Ethan had burst out laughing. "Finally, Dad always said you get exactly what you deserve, Clara." His Italian leather shoes, tailored suit, and the way he lounged in his chair as if he owned the room were etched in my memory. In many ways he did. "The gallery's been losing money for years," he added, inspecting his neatly manicured nails. "But hey, at least you'll have plenty of dust to keep you company. Maybe you can sell pencil sketches to tourists." Ethan was right about the gallery's financial state. For the past decade, Willow Gallery had struggled. Once Boston's premier platform for up-and-coming artists, it had deteriorated into a barely profitable business that most serious collectors overlooked. But what Ethan and my parents didn't understand was that I had always seen something here they never noticed. Growing up, I spent countless hours with my grandfather, Henry Willow, the gallery's founder, while my mother plotted Ethan's path to an MBA, and my father groomed him for the family business. Grandpa Henry taught me about art in these very halls. "True art," he would say, his eyes twinkling behind wire-rimmed glasses, "is the soul of each piece, not just the price tags and profit potential your parents obsess over. Clara, my dear, remember that true value isn't always visible at first glance. Sometimes, the greatest treasures hide in plain sight, waiting for the right person to discover them." I could still hear those words as I wandered through the gallery's main hall. Even in its current state, the room was breathtaking, with high ceilings, ornate crown molding, and large windows that could flood the space with natural light when clean. But years of neglect had taken their toll. Half the track lighting was burned out, the walls begged for fresh paint, and the hardwood floors needed refinishing. My footsteps echoed in the silence as I reached the back office. Once my grandfather's sanctuary, my parents had turned it into a sterile storage room. Filing cabinets lined the walls and dust coated everything. Yet, beneath it all, I could still feel Grandpa Henry's presence, running my fingers along his old desk, now shoved into a corner and buried under boxes. I recalled the stories he told me about the gallery's early days. In the 1960s, he had built it from nothing into a haven for artists who would later become legends. Rumors swirled that he had amassed an extraordinary private collection over the years, but nothing significant was ever found after his death 15 years ago. My parents had searched, convinced Grandpa Henry had hidden masterpieces worth millions. They brought in appraisers, hired specialists, and even had the walls scanned for secret passages. They found only the gallery's standard inventory respectable pieces, but nothing remarkable. Eventually, they gave up. Out of some lingering duty to Grandpa Henry's memory, the gallery was left to decay, becoming a tax write-off. They focused on Willow Industries, preparing Ethan to carry on the real family legacy, while I worked as a curator at smaller museums and studied art history. A sharp draft snapped me back to the present. Night had fallen while I was lost in memories, and the gallery felt different in the shadows. The few paintings still on display seemed to watch me with sly eyes, and the sculptures cast eerie shadows on the walls. I was about to leave when I noticed something I had never seen before, a slight unevenness in the floor near Grandpa Henry's desk. Kneeling down, I ran my hands over the wood. The pattern was definitely off, a subtle irregularity that didn't seem like the result of age, but rather intentional. My heart raced as I recalled another of Grandpa Henry's favorite sayings: "The best hiding place is one that looks like it's trying to hide something else." Over the next hour, I meticulously examined the floor and its surroundings. I was about to give up when my fingers found it, a tiny lever in the wood, disguised as a knot. With trembling hands, I pulled it. The mechanism was so well crafted it barely made a sound. A small section of the floorboard slid aside, revealing a thin gap. Inside was a leather-bound diary with yellowed pages and a single key, far older than the gallery itself. It was my grandfather's journal. I recognized his distinctive handwriting instantly. But these notes were hurried, almost frantic, filled with calculations, sketches, and what looked like coded messages, not his usual elegant prose. One page declared in bold letters at the top, "The True Collection, for Clara's eyes only." My hands shook as I turned the page, but my phone buzzed before I could read further. Ethan had texted, "Meeting tomorrow at 9:00 a.m. time to discuss selling that dusty gallery of yours. I already have buyers interested in the building." I glanced at the journal in my hands, then back at the message. Ethan had no idea what I had just found, and I intended to keep it that way for now. Carefully replacing the journal and key, I ensured the floor panel was securely closed. As I left the gallery that night, I felt different. The weight of my supposedly worthless inheritance had shifted to anticipation. Grandpa Henry had left me more than a struggling gallery. He had left me a mystery, and tomorrow I would begin unraveling what he had hidden all those years ago. The next morning, I arrived at the gallery well before my 9:00 a.m. meeting with Ethan. The morning sun painted the empty halls in shades of gold, but I barely noticed, consumed by thoughts of the secret compartment. Kneeling beside Grandpa Henry's old desk, I pressed the hidden mechanism again. The diary and key felt heavy with possibility. Finding a quiet corner, I began to read. The opening page said, "My dearest Clara, if you're reading this, you've already proven the patience and perception I always saw in you. What I'm about to reveal must remain our secret. The true legacy of Willow Gallery isn't in its walls, but below them." My heart pounded as I turned the pages. The journal told an extraordinary story, spanning decades. Beyond running the gallery, Grandpa Henry had been part of a group of art preservationists dedicated to protecting masterpieces during turbulent times. The gallery's basement, it turned out, was more than just storage. Detailed sketches revealed a complex network of hidden chambers beneath the main floor. According to the diary, Grandpa Henry had secretly modified the building's foundation over years to create a climate-controlled vault unknown to anyone else. "The key," he wrote, "opens more than a door. It opens a legacy I've spent my life building. But be cautious, Clara. Others have sought this collection, and not all have honest intentions." A sharp knock at the front door startled me. Ethan stood outside, looking impatient. I quickly hid the journal and composed myself before letting him in. "Well, if it isn't the curator of dust," he said with a smirk, brushing past me. "I brought some potential buyers. They're interested in turning this place into luxury condos." Behind him stood two men in expensive suits, clearly developers. They immediately began discussing load-bearing walls and square footage, treating the gallery's history as an inconvenience to be erased. One of them, glancing at his tablet, remarked, "The basement would make excellent parking space. According to the original plans, it's mostly unused." A chill ran through me. "If they started digging there, the gallery isn't for sale," I said firmly. Ethan's face hardened. "Don't be ridiculous, Clara. This place is worthless as an art gallery. You can barely pay the utilities." "No," I repeated. Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I know you have some sentimental attachment to Grandpa's little hobby, but it's time to grow up, take the money, and walk away." I met his gaze steadily. "Like you did, taking millions while contributing nothing." His face reddened. "I earned my inheritance by learning the business, not wasting time on an old man's fairy tales about art." "Get out," I said quietly but firmly. "All of you." Ethan warned. "You're making a mistake," as I ushered them out. "I'm trying to help you." "I don't need your kind of help," I replied. After they left, my heart pounded. Ethan was relentless, and I needed to act quickly. Returning to the diary, I studied the basement blueprints carefully. Grandpa Henry's notes indicated the vault's entrance was hidden in the northwest corner of the basement, behind a false wall. If used correctly, the key would activate a mechanism. Taking a deep breath, I descended the basement stairs. It was, as I remembered, rows of metal shelves holding decades of paperwork, old exhibition materials, and wrapped artworks. But today, I saw it differently. Following the journal's directions, I headed to the northwest corner. The bare concrete walls met at a clean angle, appearing solid at first glance. But as I ran my fingers over the surface, I noticed faint irregularities in the texture. A tiny crack in the concrete was exactly where the key fit. With trembling hands, I turned the key in the sequence outlined in the journal. 1/4 to the left, 3/4 to the right, then back to the right. For a moment, nothing happened. Then I heard a faint click, followed by the soft hum of hidden machinery. Silently, the false wall swung inward, revealing a steel door with an advanced electronic keypad. The journal had prepared me for this too. The code was based on a significant date, the day Grandpa Henry opened the gallery. I carefully entered the numbers 1965, 4.12. With a soft hiss, the door opened, and climate-controlled air washed over me. Motion-activated lights flickered on, revealing a staggering sight. The vault was massive, far larger than it should have been. Rows of meticulously preserved paintings lined the walls, each in a custom-built cabinet. Sculptures stood on pedestals, their forms casting intricate shadows. Display cases held small items, rare manuscripts, ancient artifacts, and objects I recognized from my art history studies but never expected to see in person. In the center of the room stood a simple desk with a letter placed precisely in the middle. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Clara, my darling," it began, "in the True Willow Gallery, you will find complete documentation for every item in this vault, including its provenance, history, and, most importantly, its rightful owners. Some of these pieces were entrusted to me for safekeeping during turbulent times, while others were rescued from those who would have destroyed them for political or financial gain. What you see is the result of a lifetime of work, not just mine, but that of countless others who believed in preserving beauty and history. This collection exists to be protected until the right moment for each piece to return home, not to be sold or displayed for prestige. I chose you for this responsibility because you understand that art is about preserving the thread of human creativity that connects us all, not about status or price tags. At the back of the vault is a smaller room. That collection is different items I legally acquired over the years, fully verified and documented. Those are yours to do with as you please. They should provide more than enough funds to keep the gallery and vault running as intended. Be cautious, be patient, and, above all, be true to the duty you've been given. With all my love, Henry." For hours, I explored the vault in awe. The collection included works by masters I had only read about, pieces thought lost to time, and others whose existence had been mere rumor. In the private collection Grandpa Henry had mentioned, I found hundreds of carefully selected works by artists whose values had skyrocketed over the decades. Even conservative estimates valued them at well over $100 million. But it wasn't the money that brought tears to my eyes. It was the trust my grandfather had placed in me, the legacy he had quietly prepared for me all those years ago. A phone notification broke the spell. Ethan had left several missed calls and a text. "This isn't over. You're making a huge mistake." I smiled, surveying the vault's priceless contents, which my brother would have sold without a second thought. For the first time since inheriting the gallery, I felt certain of my path. Securing the vault, I returned upstairs. There was work to do. The gallery needed renovations, security upgrades, and I had a legacy to uphold. Ethan was right about one thing: this was far from over. But he had no idea what he was truly up against. While he schemed to seize what he thought was a worthless building, I had become the guardian of something far more valuable than money. Looking up at the gallery's walls, I whispered, "Thank you, Grandpa Henry. I won't let you down." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. I hired contractors, ensuring they signed strict confidentiality agreements to restore the gallery's original features. The basement was marked as undergoing an environmental assessment and kept strictly off limits to deter curious onlookers. At night, I pored over Grandpa Henry's journal, learning the stories behind each item in the vault. Some had been rescued from Nazi looting during World War II, others from more recent conflicts. Each piece came with a detailed file documenting its original owners and the circumstances that led to my grandfather's care. Ethan, true to his word, didn't give up. First came legal threats. His lawyers sent a lengthy letter demanding an immediate sale, claiming the gallery's declining condition constituted mismanagement of family assets. I forwarded it to my own lawyer, an art law expert I had quietly hired using funds from selling a single small item from Grandpa Henry's private collection. Then came financial pressure. Ethan used his connections to interfere with the gallery's utilities, insurance, and even the property tax assessment. Each time, I countered his moves with resources he didn't know I had. The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday morning, when I arrived at the gallery to find Ethan waiting with two unfamiliar men. "These gentlemen are from the Boston Historical Society," he said, his smile razor-sharp. "They're very interested in examining the building's original foundation. Apparently, there are concerns about structural integrity. Their demeanor and the slight bulges under their coats told me instantly they weren't from any historical society. At best, they were private investigators. At worst, something more dangerous. The gallery is closed for renovations," I said firmly. "Any inspections must be scheduled through proper channels." One of the men stepped forward. "We have authorization, leave." I cut him off. "Or I'll call the actual authorities." After they left, Ethan lingered. "What are you hiding, Clara? There's something in this building worth protecting, isn't there? Something Grandpa Henry left behind." "The only thing I'm protecting is this gallery's future," I replied. "Why can't you accept that?" His face darkened. "Because I know you. You were always his favorite, always listening to his stories. He must have told you something." I smiled slowly. "The clue was in plain sight, Ethan. You just never cared enough to look." That evening, I realized I needed to accelerate my plans. Ethan was growing desperate, and desperate people make reckless choices. I spent hours meticulously documenting the vault's contents, then contacted three people: the world's leading expert on art repatriation, a contact at Interpol, and an old friend in the FBI's Art Crimes Division. 2 days later, Ethan made his move. Working late, I heard the basement door open. Security cameras showed 3 men in dark clothing heading downstairs. Though Ethan wasn't with them, I knew who had sent them. Calmly, the first pressed the silent alarm, a custom system I'd installed, connected directly to law enforcement rather than the gallery's standard setup. Then I went to the basement. The intruders were already at the northwest corner, using specialized tools to probe the wall. They barely glanced at me as I entered. "Looking for something?" I asked. One growled, "Lady, just walk away. This doesn't concern you." "Actually," I said with a smile, "it concerns me very much. So do the federal agents who just surrounded the building." As if on cue, voices erupted from above. "FBI, this is a federal art crimes investigation. Everyone stay where you are." What followed was a blur of activity. The would-be thieves were arrested, and Ethan was picked up at his home after being traced through their phones. Search warrants revealed everything: his plans for the gallery, his hired operatives, and even his connections to shady collectors dealing in stolen art. The next morning brought the real surprise. I had arranged a special meeting at the gallery, attended by officials from multiple governments, museum representatives, and cultural organizations worldwide. Together, we descended into the vault. As the lights revealed the collection, gasps echoed off the walls. Long-lost masterpieces were rediscovered, and artifacts thought destroyed were found perfectly preserved. Museum directors embraced, tears were shed, and I turned over Grandpa Henry's detailed records, including the provenance and stories of how each item came into his care. Over the next year, we would work to return each piece to its rightful place, earning the gallery global recognition for what it gave back, not what it kept. Ethan, stripped of his freedom and reputation by his own greed, watched it unfold from behind bars. The evidence found in his home linked him to other art trafficking operations, ensuring he would have plenty of time to reflect. As for the gallery, I established a foundation using part of Grandpa Henry's private collection, dedicated to protecting and preserving art during times of conflict. The gallery became a center for education and activism, teaching future generations the importance of cultural heritage. Exactly 1 year after discovering the vault, I stood in the newly renovated main hall. The original architectural details had been restored to their former glory, and the room glowed with light. A special exhibition was about to open, showcasing works by up-and-coming local artists, just as Grandpa Henry had done when he founded the gallery. In my office, once Grandpa Henry's Sanctuary 2 items sat on my desk. The first was his journal, a reminder of the legacy he entrusted to me. The second was a short news clipping from the day Ethan was convicted, a reminder that true value lies in what you choose to preserve, not what you can take. The Willow Gallery still bears our family name, but it now stands for something different, a commitment to preserving art for future generations, not just a family tradition. I feel Grandpa Henry's presence every day as I walk these halls. I'm certain he would be proud. Sometimes late at night when the gallery is quiet, I think back to how I nearly gave up, letting Ethan turn this place into another soulless development when I first found the hidden compartment. But Grandpa Henry taught me well. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden in plain sight, and some things are worth far more than their price. The vault beneath the gallery is empty now, its contents returned to their rightful homes around the world. Yet the space remains ready, a hidden chamber prepared to protect the next piece of history that needs safeguarding. Occasionally, the first share Grandpa Henry's favorite saying with young artists who visit the gallery, their eyes shining with the same passion I once saw in his. True value isn't always visible at first glance. Sometimes the greatest treasures hide in plain sight, waiting for the right person to discover them. They never realize I'm talking about more than just art. The gallery, once dismissed as worthless, proved its worth, not because of what it held, but because of its legacy of preservation, protection, and the understanding that some things are worth more than all the money in the world. Ethan may have gotten the fortune from our parents' estate, but I received something far greater, a purpose, a mission, and the chance to prove that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's doing what's right. With its windows gleaming in the sunlight, the Willow Gallery stands tall in the heart of Boston. No longer the dusty, dilapidated place my brother mocked, it is a beacon of hope, a guardian of culture, and proof that true value often lies far beyond appearances. And I, Clara Willow, the disappointment who inherited the useless bequest, am no longer that person. I am the keeper of a legacy spanning generations, the protector of a tradition that values preservation over profit, and the proof that, if you know where to look, the greatest treasures in life can sometimes be found cloaked in dust.